Hello, this is Jake with Optimus Futures, and in this video, I wanted to do something a little bit different today. I wanted to approach today's video with a more informative approach rather than a tutorial or a guide. Now, this video will be covering symbols in the Sierra chart platform, more specifically the prefixes that come before all of the symbol names. There are a ton of different symbols and a ton of different symbol types in this platform. And with so many to choose from, they can get confusing. So I'll be showing you where to locate these symbols and exactly what they mean. So as I mentioned before, I'll be approaching this video in an informative way. And how I'll be handling this situation is by going through the list and reading off every single symbol prefix there is on the platform. While I'm reading it off to you, I'll also be annotating on the screen the exact definition of the prefix of the symbol. So feel free to pause throughout the video if you need to catch up and read. I'll also be providing timestamps in the description. So if you feel like skipping around and need to find a specific symbol that you're typically searching for, feel free to go in the description, click on the time, and it'll bring you exactly to that symbol prefix. So first up, and probably most important for this video, is how to actually open a symbol. To open a symbol on the Sierra chart platform, navigate to the top left-hand corner of the platform window, and directly to the right of our connection bar, you'll see a button labeled FS. This is also known as the Find Symbol button. Left-click the Find Symbol button to open up your list of symbols. So immediately upon opening the Find Symbol window, you'll notice we have a ton of different options here to choose from, and this can get pretty overwhelming. But if you'll notice, they are primarily sorted by the specific data feeds or the routing feeds they're associated to. We also have some pretty general ones. As you can see, we have a futures section. There is a Forex section. We have futures spreads, futures and Forex indexes, market stats, premiums, and stocks. Now, if you are a trader with Optimus, it is more than likely that you'll be spending most of your time in this window in the future section. So if we expand this open, you'll notice we have all the typical futures contracts that we expect to find in a trading platform. A big one that we typically are asked for is the E-mini S&P 500 future, which you'll notice is right here. And if we click on a contract and then expand it once more, we will get the exact contract or the symbol name. As you can see, for the March, which has been expired, it is F.US.EPH18. Now you can manually search for a symbol in this platform by simply highlighting this bar and manually entering in the contract you'd like, or you can do it the method in which I just did by expanding through these search bars here and specifically selecting the symbol you'd like to open. Now, I'm sure for many of you, this is pretty self-explanatory. The futures contracts aren't very hard to find on this platform. They're all in alphabetical order. So simply just go to the futures section, expand it, and then find the contract you're looking for. But what we do receive many questions on, and they are hidden, is where to find specific charts for things like, let's say, for example, the AD line. Or let's say, for example, the tick line for the NYSE. These are in the platform, but they're a little hidden. And that was my main purpose of this video, to show you where these specific charts are located and what exactly all of them mean. And you'll find some of these charts in the market stats section. And this is where I'll begin to annotate what exactly these prefixes mean, such as the ADR, for example, ADV, DECL, and much more. So now that we have that out of the way, I'm going to continue to the market stats section and break down each symbol here piece by piece. And as I mentioned before, if you're having trouble keeping up or I am moving too fast, I will be adding annotations to the screen, so feel free to pause in between my sentences to gain a brief description or just read about what the symbol I'm currently talking about is. So first up, we have the ADR NASDAQ. Now it's worth noting that the prefix to the left of the dash is always what the chart is going to be based off of. So for our first example here, we have the ADR, which is the advanced decline ratio. And you get a brief description here on the right-hand side. But as you'll notice, as we continue to advance, the prefixes get a bit more descriptive and more advanced. So that's why I figured I'd make this video to give brief descriptions on every single symbol within this market stat section. That being said, now to the right of the dash, the second prefix, we have the market it is based off of. So this one is currently based off the NASDAQ market and the stocks currently being traded within that market. So in total, we have the ADR for the NASDAQ. So by now you should have a brief understanding of how the prefix naming conventions work in this platform. The first prefix will be the type of chart you're opening. The second will be the market that is based on the chart. So although I've covered ADR, I'm going to cover the rest of the type of markets in this section just to get them out of the way so things don't become redundant. So right underneath the NASDAQ, we have the NQ, which is based off the NASDAQ market, but this is based off the NASDAQ 100 index. Next up, we have the NYSE, which is the New York Stock Exchange, and the stocks being traded on them. After that, we have the NYSE, NASDAQ, NYSE market. This is a combination of the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, as well as the New York Stock Exchange Market Exchange. After that, once again, we have the New York Stock Exchange Market Exchange. After that, we have the SP, otherwise based off of the S&P 500, and the stocks being traded within that market. We have the TF located underneath that, which is based off of the Russell 2000 index. Located under that, we have the YM, which is based off of the Dow Jones 30 Industrial Index. And that is it for the markets. Once again, if I've moved too fast through this section, feel free to pause the video or rewind to get a brief description of each type of market. So now that I've gone over the naming conventions and how prefixes work, as well as the different market types, I'll be primarily focusing on the different chart types that you can open up in the Sierra Chart platform. Now, it's safe to say that the second prefix is always going to be the markets. And the markets do not change. The markets that I just went over and gave a brief description on will remain the same no matter what the chart type. So even if we scroll down, for example, to the D volume, as you can see, the D volume still has the NASDAQ market, the NQ market, and the NYSE market, etc. These descriptions and definitions for these markets don't change. If you do happen to forget what these prefixes mean, simply just go back in time on the video and go to the brief description that I gave for that market type. That being said, the next chart type that we have in our list is the ADV. So the ADV, otherwise known as the advanced line, is the number of stocks that have been traded during the current trading day and are up in price compared to their previous trading day close. Each stock only counts a value of 1 towards the statistic. So as you can see, we have the advanced line, and we have it for each individual market type: the NASDAQ, the NASDAQ Market Index, the New York Stock Exchange, etc. Next up in our symbol list, we have the decline line. And if you'll notice, there's starting to form a theme here. First of all, our symbols are in alphabetical order. Second of all, the prefixes that follow are always going to be the same. First, you have the chart type that is opened up based off of that certain market statistic. And then you have the market it is based off of. So like I said, next up we have the decline line, the first one being based off the NASDAQ market. Now the decline line is pretty much the same exact thing as the advanced line, but this time it is based off of prices that are going down in the market. So, formally, the definition is the number of stocks that have been traded during the current trading day and are down in price compared to their previous trading day close. Each stock only counts a value of 1 towards the statistic. Now that we've got that covered out of the way, next up in our list is the D-Tick. And the D-Tick is based off the number of trades of the stocks that have traded in the current trading day and are up in price compared to their previous trading day close. And this is quoted in the 1000s. So as you can see, once again, we have the D-Tick and all of its corresponding market types that follow: NASDAQ, NASDAQ 100 Index, New York Stock Exchange, and all the other ones. Next up in our symbol list, we have the D-TIS. Now the D-TIS is the number of stocks that traded at a lower price compared to the previous price or compared to the prior close at the first trade of the day. Now this is used in the tick calculation. And as you can see on this one, it is only based off a couple of markets here. It's only based off the New York Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange Market Exchange, and the combination of the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, and the New York Stock Exchange Market Exchange. All right, next up we have D volume in our symbol list. Now you may notice that there's two versions of the D volume. One is based off a 24-hour interval, and one is based off of the trading day, and it is only during those trading hours. Now both of these have the same definition, but like I said, they're just based off of different intervals, and I will be putting a brief description on each of them to what these intervals exactly are. But for the exact definition of the D volume, it is the total volume of the stocks for the particular exchange or index the symbol is for that have traded in the current trading day and are down in price compared to their previous trading day close. Once again, these are the same exact definition and they're based off the same markets, but they're just based off of different intervals. The interval is personal preference and is completely up to the trader's choice. All right, next up, right after D-Vol, we have the ISS. The ISS stands for the number of stocks that have traded in the second for which this is reported for. Each stock only counts a value of 1 towards this statistic. And directly located underneath the ISS chart, we have the NISS. Now, this may be the most popular chart that traders will look for in this market statistics section of the Find Symbol window. And that is because the NISS is actually your AD line. Now, I know it's a little hidden, and that's honestly the reason why I made this video, because there's really no clear definition that this is the AD line on this platform. So that's why I wanted to give a brief description of each of these symbols, because they're not exactly the whole telltale sign based off of their symbol prefixes. So once again, the NISS is the AD line. Now the actual definition is the difference between the advanced and the decline line. This is the symbol used to get the advanced decline line. However, to get the true advanced decline line, you need to add the advanced decline line study to this chart. Now, I've had many traders call in looking for the AD line, and I personally helped them find it. Once we added this NISS symbol to one of their charts, that was perfect enough for them. I haven't personally tested out adding a study to this myself, but according to Sierra Chart's website, to get the true AD line, simply open up the NISS symbol on a chart and then apply the advanced decline line to that chart. All right, next up after our NISS or the AD line, we have the N-tick. Now the N-tick's definition is the difference between the U-tick and the D-tick. And this is quoted in 1000s. Now I know I haven't gone over the U-tick yet. That's because I am going alphabetical order based off of this list. So if you are interested in using this symbol and need a brief definition on what the U-tick is, feel free to pause the video and use the timestamps in the description to jump around and head over to the U-tick timestamp. Alright, we only have a couple more symbol prefixes left to go over. Next up, we have the N volume. Now, this is a similar situation that we faced before. Again, there's two different variants of the N volume, one being a 24-hour interval and one being based off of the trading day. Again, the N volume, they both have the same definition. It's just two different time interval variants of the charts that you can open up. So, that being said, the N volume is the difference between the U volume and the D volume. Now, just like our last symbol, I haven't gone over the U volume definition yet because this is in alphabetical order and I'm following that structure. So feel free to pause the video. I will be putting up a brief description of what the U volume is right here. Or you can also use the timestamps to jump ahead and go to the U volume. Alright, next up, right after the N vol, we have the P vol, or the P volume. And the definition of this is the total volume for a 1 second period for the stocks that have traded during that second. And the actual volume that you will see for a chart bar will be equal to the volume over the time frame of the chart bar. Now, it's also worth noting that you can apply a volume study to this chart. Now, exactly what this does, I will be placing on a screen in the annotation. The structure and definition of the volume study gets a little lengthy, so I'll just be putting it on the screen for visual purposes. Feel free to pause the video if this does move too fast. Alright, next up we have two different variants of a tick. In this one, I'm actually going to do out of order. First, I'm going to go over the tick. And this is very popular, I've noticed, with many traders, so might want to keep this in mind. One big one that I've noticed is the tick NYSE. That being said, the definition of the tick is the number of stocks that traded at a higher price compared to their previous trade, minus the number of stocks that traded at a lower price compared to their previous trade. So, for example, if a tick reads plus 500, then there are 500 more stocks trading higher compared with stocks trading lower. The opposite is true if it is negative 500. Alright, for our next symbol, let's take a step back and go to the tick BA. This is a tick bid or ask. And the reason I went forward in advance is because the tick BA is obviously based off of your tick. And it is similar to the tick, except that the bid ask for each issue is also taken into account to determine if an issue is trading on an uptick or downtick basis. Alright, so after the tick BA, I'm going to jump back forward, and this time we're going to do the TISS. So the TISS definition is the number of stocks that have traded during the current trading day. Each stock only counts as a value of 1 towards this statistic. And located directly under that, we have the trend. Now, this is the trading index. This calculation is the number of stocks that are up compared to the previous trading day close, divided by the number of stocks that are down compared to the previous trading day close. This ratio is then divided by the volume of stocks that are up compared to the previous trading day close, divided by the volume of stocks that are down compared to the trading day close. I know that may sound a little tricky and confusing. I will be adding the formula in the annotation as well for this, so if you need to, just pause the video once again. Alright, next up guys, we have the T-tick. This is the total number of trades of stocks that have traded in the current trading day for the particular exchange or index the symbol is for. This is quoted in 1000s. And located directly underneath that, we have the T volume. Once again, we're faced with the situation that this is the same symbol, but two different variants. There's a 24-hour variant and the regular trading day variant. Again, personal preference, this is up to you. Just don't get the two confused. The definition for the T volume is the total volume of stocks for the particular exchange or index the symbol is for that have traded in the current trading day. Once again, these definitions for T volume are the same, just in two different time intervals. Alright guys, after the T volume, there's only 4 more symbol prefixes to go over them, 2 of which I've already briefly touched on. So next up we have the UDVR. This is a ratio of U volume 24 hours to D volume 24 hours. So this is the U volume 24 hours divided by D volume 24 hours. I know I've touched on D volume already. I've spoke briefly about U volume. That will be coming up in just about 2 more symbol prefixes. So feel free to just jump ahead real quick if you need to. Other than that, next up, we have the UNCH. So the definition of the UNCH is the number of stocks that have traded during the current trading day and are unchanged in price compared to their previous trading day close. Each stock only counts a value of 1 towards the statistic. Alright, next up we have the UTIS. And this is one of those symbols again that's only pertaining to the NYSE, the combination of the NYSE, the NASDAQ, and the NYSE Market Exchange, and the New York Stock Exchange Market Exchange. So that being said, the definition for the UTIS is the number of stocks that traded at a higher price compared to the previous price or compared to the prior close at the first trade of the day. This is used in the tick calculation. Alright, so after the UTIS, we have finally reached our final 2 symbols. And once again, these are both the Yuval, but with 2 different time intervals. The first Yuval you'll see, the 24-hour, is based off a 24-hour time interval, while the normal Yuval is based off of the trading hours for that day. Now that you have that knowledge out of the way, the definition for the Yuval is the total volume of the stocks for the particular exchange or the index the symbol is for that have traded in the current trading day and are up in price compared to their previous trading day close. And this is also reported in 1000s. Alright guys, well that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you found it informative, and hopefully by now you have a pretty good understanding of how symbols work in this platform, how their naming conventions are laid out, and what the symbol prefix definitions mean. If you need to go back and check any of the definitions that I talked about, simply head to the description box on the bottom of the video and click on one of the corresponding timestamps. It'll bring you exactly to the point in the video I was talking about that symbol prefix. I also wanted to mention that on optimusfutures.com we're also incorporating a FAQ section into our website. One of these FAQ questions will be related to the available symbols, and it will have all the definitions I talked about here today. So I'll also link that in the description box for your use. Thanks for watching. If this video helped, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more informative content related to the futures market.